building a production-ready web application from scratch. In this video, we're going to be covering how to choose the right tech stack for your web application. So similar to last couple videos, this is one that you could gain all the knowledge from just reading if you'd like. If you don't want to listen to me read through the article, I'll post the article link in the video description. But to keep the web series flowing, I'm just going to read through the article and we're just going to cover all the topics here as well. So let's go ahead and just dive in. Right. So if you are just coming off the previous video, we discussed defining our MVP. Right. So now that we've clearly defined our project and the features that are going to make up our MVP, it's time that we make one of the most important decisions of any software project, right? Choosing the tech stack we're going to be using. The technologies you choose are going to determine not only how you build your application, but also how well it performs, scales, and evolves over time. So in this article, we're going to talk about what to consider when selecting that tech stack, explore some of today's more popular options for each layer, and then explain why we've chosen the specific tools and platforms that are going to power our production-ready web application. So why choosing the right tech stack matters. The technology tech stack that you pick is more than just a collection of frameworks, right? It's the foundation of your project. It affects your development speed, scalability, cost, and the long-term maintainability. If you choose the wrong stack, it can lead to headaches down the line, performance bottlenecks, deployment issues, or even difficulty hiring developers to understand your app. Right? The right tech stack is going to balance that performance, developers' experience, and practicality. You want technologies that are mature, well documented, widely supported, and aligned with your goals, not just the latest trends. So when evaluating options, keep these in mind, right? Project requirements. What features are essential? What kinds of data are you going to be handling? The team's skill set. What languages and frameworks do you and your team already know? This is a big one, right? You don't always have to reinvent the wheel, choose the most complex thing. Scalability. Will your app need to handle thousands of users or just a few hundred? Community and ecosystem. Does the technology have an active support and regular updates? And then hosting and integration. How easily can you deploy, secure, and scale that application? So with these principles in mind, let's look at the major parts of a full stack application and the popular options today. So for front end frameworks, the front end defines how users are going to interact with our application, handles the interface, user experience, and all the logic that runs in the browser. So some popular options are React, which is the most widely used JavaScript library for building user interfaces. It's component-based, flexible, backed by Facebook. Angular is then a feature-rich front-end framework developed by Google. It's known for its opinionated structure, built-in dependency injection, and TypeScript-first approach. Vue.js, a lightweight framework. It's very beginner-friendly, flexible, often chosen for smaller, faster-moving projects. And Svelte, so it's a new compiler-based approach that converts components into highly optimized JavaScript at build time. So some of the top 4 options users would pick from. Our choice is going to be Angular. Right, we're choosing Angular because it aligns perfectly with our goals. Right, it's TypeScript-based, it's highly structured, integrates naturally with enterprise-grade backends like NestJS. Angular built-in tools for routing, forms, dependency injection testing is going to give us consistency across the project and reduces setup complexity. It's going to allow us to focus on building features and not gluing stuff together. Another one that I didn't write down is going to be on our team skill set. Right, I have done a lot of Angular development. I'm comfortable with Angular. I like to do it. And so for me, it makes sense that Angular is what we're going to choose, right? I like TypeScript. I like that it forces you to create, interfaces and keeps your code nice and clean. So that's what we're going to go with. There's no real wrong answer sometimes. And I really want to drive that home that you could easily build this in React or Vue or Svelte. Like, the application that we're building is not so complex that you would have to choose a particular framework to make it happen. Pick with what you're comfortable with or what you're trying to learn. And, you're not going to go wrong. Not everything has a perfect answer or right or wrong answer. And this front end framework is one of those times. Backend framework. So the backend is going to handle the business logic, API points, authentication, and communication with the database. A good backend is going to provide us with strong architectural patterns, scalability, and developer productivity. So some of our popular options are going to include Express, the minimalist Node.js framework, It's lightweight, flexible, some more manual structure. NestJS is a progressive node framework. It's going to provide a modular architecture, TypeScript support, see that, and built-in tools for scalable applications. Django and Flask are Python-based frameworks. You got Spring Boot, it's a Java-based framework suited for enterprise environments needing strict typing. And then .NET Core, Microsoft's robust cross-platform solution for large-scale backends. So again, any of these could tackle what we're trying to do, right? But I like Node and I like TypeScript, so I'm going to lean that way. You could also do those things for Express, but we're going to choose NestJS because it's going to provide us that structured, scalable architecture out of the box while still being familiar to JavaScript and TypeScript, right? It's going to use detectors, dependencies, modules similar to Angular, making that full stack consistency end to end. NestJS also includes integrations for authentication, validation, and all sorts of tools that we're going to be using, which is going to let us expand as our app grows. So since I was going with Angular as our front end, NestJS is a perfect choice, right? It stays in JavaScript, it stays in TypeScript. That parity between the two is valuable. A lot of people choose Express, but I personally think Express is good for like personal applications. But if you're trying to release and sell a product, or if you're trying to build a product you're planning to sell, release in production, I think NestJS just provides the better structure. There's more built-in tools to use. So I always go NestJS if it's something that I'm actually trying to create as like a product. And so that's what we're going to go with. Databases. Your database stores the application data, tasks, lists, and so on. The choice between SQL and NoSQL often depends on how structured data is and how much flexibility you need or want. Popular options are going to be Postgres, which is an open source SQL database with strong relational features and extensions. Really can't go wrong with that. MySQL, widely supported traditional SQL database. MongoDB, NoSQL, document-based database that stores in flexible JSON-like structures, perfect for evolving schemas. Firebase store, managed real-time NoSQL database, ideal for small projects. And Supabase, an open source alternative Firebase built on top of PostgreSQL. So this one's an interesting one, right? And it really, you're going to have people who hate NoSQL and people who, I don't think anyone hates relational databases, right? Because it's the foundation of what people learn. For us, we're going to choose MongoDB Atlas because I personally do like NoSQL databases as long as you still try to make them relational between IDs, right? You just have to be a little more strict with your data structures than if you were going to use a relational database because it gives you more flexibility, right? You don't want to abuse that power. But I think there's certain advantages to that like JSON-like structure when building applications and when building your data sets that is just invaluable, right? I just really like it. And I think if you can get comfortable doing that, you can really see the advantages. So for application, MongoDB Atlas is a great fit because it's going to provide that flexibility for our data models like users, tasks, and lists. And it's going to handle that scaling automatically. Atlas is a fully managed cloud service, meaning we don't need to worry about provisioning, backups, or security patches. It's going to easily integrate with our NestJS via Mongoose, and it's going to give us that fast schema-based development with the freedom of that NoSQL storage. So a big thing is going to be Atlas, right? It's a web application that we're going to create an account for, sign up for, which means that we don't have to store that data locally. So hosting the backend. So once our API is built, it needs a secure, scalable environment to run it, right? Popular options are going to include AWS App Runner, which is a fully managed service for containerized apps, ideal for Node and NestJS deployments. Elastic Beanstalk, which is good for quickly deploying apps with automated scaling and health checks. Render, a simple developer-friendly cloud platform with auto deploy from Git. Railway, Flyo, great for small experimental projects that you want to deploy quickly. And then Vercel and Netlify, while most used for front ends, you can host simple APIs. So to me, I like App Runner, right? We're going to deploy our backend with App Runner because it combines the simplicity and scalability, right? We're going to create our own health checks. and we're gonna create all of our own a fully functional backend, right? We don't need the simplicity that these offer, but it's also going to scale with usage, right? So you don't pay for what you don't use. So it's automatically going to build and deploy our containerized NestJS application, but it managed that load balancing and scalability for us. And it's going to integrate seamlessly with other AWS services for that production ready product, right? Perfect balance between ease of use and long-term reliability, right? Couldn't say it better. Um, when I deploy web applications, I almost always use it. I highly recommend it. Hosting the front end. So front end hosting focuses on delivering static assets, HTML, CSS, JavaScript quickly and securely around the world. So popular options for hosting the front end are going to be AWS Amplify, which is a fully featured hosting solution for front end frameworks. Versal, which is popular for Next.js and React projects. Netlify, simple, flexible hosting for static sites. Firebase hosting, managed ECUs. Cloudflare pages, fast, secure hosting. So we're going to choose Amplify because we're already deploying our backend server on AWS. Makes sense to also have our front end framework on AWS, and it's going to offer those same advantages for our backend. I personally like Firebase. Say you were going to have your application in Firebase, then you should have your front end in Firebase as well. Amplify is going to give us that fast global hosting with built-in pipelines for new builds whenever we want to push, right? Since we're already using that AWS backend, staying in that same ecosystem is just going to make it simpler. File storage. If your app needs to handle user uploads or images, you'll need a reliable, scalable object to store those files in. So some popular options are going to be AWS S3, Google Cloud Storage, Azure, or Supabase, right? Again, you really couldn't go wrong with any of these. It's just how you would configure it. But we're going to use AW3 because it's the natural choice for storing those profile pictures in our application. It's battle tested, cost effective, and then it's going to work seamlessly with our App Runner and Amplify. Right, again, keeping everything in AWS just makes things simpler. Using these pre-signed URLs, we can securely upload and retrieve images without exposing those private keys or routing file data through our backend. So again, I just want to highlight, I know I'm repeating myself, but you could choose any of these for any of them. It would just be how you configure. I will just say if you pick something, like for us, AWS, just stay with that platform, right? There's going to be maybe some cost advantages that you have later on, but ultimately for the majority of applications, you're going to make your life easier if you say, I'm going to host this and I'm going to build my app and host it in Firebase. It just makes sense to keep everything in Firebase. Or I'm going to host my app in AWS to just keep everything in AWS. Bringing it all together. Choosing the right tech stack is about finding that balance, the tools that make sense for your app, your workflow, and your goals. For our production ready application, the combination of NestJS, Angular, MongoDB, App Runner, Amplify, and S3 provides that powerful, modern, and maintainable foundation without needing too many tools. It's a stack that's widely supported, it's cloud native, and it's scalable from start to finish. Right, the perfect learning how real world applications are built and deployed. In the next part of our series, we're going to start setting up our Next.js architecture, composing all this stuff and preparing for development. We're also going to have to build our, epics and tasks. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I do want to also highlight when building these applications, choosing these frameworks, especially for newer projects, right? Or first time projects, tools like Amplify and App Runner, you only pay for what you use. So if the traffic's minimal, which is gonna be, right, using tools like this keeps your costs low because you're only getting charged for those usage and those API calls, right? So having solutions like that in mind when you're starting is important because otherwise, if you do fully hosted solutions, you're going to spend a lot more money because they're constantly running. And so I'm going to leave it at that. Again, in the next video, I think we're going to start building our epics and our tasks, really building out this project to define everything that we're going to be building, and then we'll start jumping into it. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.